The soldier's letter. They found the letter at the bottom of a wooden box, yellowed by time, sealed with a ribbon the color of dusk. A promise written by a boy who never made it home. The attic smelled of cedar and summers long gone. Anna's granddaughter, Lily, wiped dust from the lid and lifted the box onto the quilt. Inside lay a stack of envelopes, corners worn thin, the ink faded to the soft gray of memory. Anna, now 90, traced the topmost letter with a trembling finger and smiled the way a person smiles when pain and gratitude finally learn how to share the same space. "Read it," she whispered. Lily unfolded the paper with the reverence of a prayer. "My dearest Anna, the nights here are colder than I imagined. When the wind cuts through our tents, I close my eyes and hear your laugh. It warms me better than any fire. Today we crossed a field of broken trees. I picked a wildflower from the edge and tucked it into my pocket. If I make it home, I'll press it into your diary. If I don't, know that I kept it for you, as I keep my heart. I am not brave, not really. I am only a boy who loves a girl and wants to hold her hand again. Yours, always, James." The words hung in the room like soft light. Anna closed her eyes and saw him at 18, cap tilted too far back, smile that barely hid his fear, ink on his fingers because he always pressed too hard. She remembered the day he left, how the train took him away in a cloud of steam, and how she stood on the platform holding a handkerchief that was useless against a sorrow that big. War taught her the long art of waiting. She waited through summers when radios carried names, through winters when neighbors stopped knocking because they didn't know what to say. In the evenings, she wrote back with stories of peach pies and neighborly gossip, refusing to let the world shrink to gunfire and maps. Lily turned another page, and an unsent letter slipped free from the bundle. James's last, dated weeks after the ones Anna had known. Anna, we were pinned down until the moon rose. When it finally did, it looked like a silver coin pressed into black velvet. I thought of the night behind Miller's barn, when we promised the moon we'd be kind to each other, even when life wasn't kind to us. If I am spared, I will build you a porch where we can sit and count fireflies. If I am not, promise me you'll still sit somewhere warm and count them anyway. Make my life reach you that way. Let the light find you. Love, Jay. Anna pressed the paper to her chest. She had never seen this letter. It must have been returned with the medal and the folded flag. There had been a knock, then the world dividing into a before and an after. She remembered the officer's polished shoes, the way his mouth formed careful words that could not hold the weight of a life. I married no one, she said quietly. I loved many things, gardens, books, your mother when she came into my life. But I married no one. Some vows are stitched so deep they keep breathing even when the body that made them does not. Lily reached for her hand. Outside, evening peeled the sky into layers of rose and blue, the exact colors of old ribbon. Somewhere a train called across town, the sound thin with distance, like a memory deciding to visit. "Grandma," Lily asked, "was it worth it, keeping all of this?" Anna's eyes shone. "Oh, sweetheart, love that ends too soon does not end at all. It keeps finding ways to arrive." She took a brittle sprig from the bottom of the box, a pressed wildflower, pale but whole, and laid it across the letter. He did bring me a flower. It just took him a lifetime to deliver it. They sat together in the dimming light, the attic quiet but full. The world below them carried on. Phones chimed, cars passed, someone laughed on the sidewalk. Up here, another kind of time unfolded, one measured not in minutes, but in meanings. When Lily slipped the letter back into its envelope, she did so with a care that felt like prayer. Later, when the porch light clicked on, they went outside and counted fireflies. Anna cupped one gently and opened her hands, letting it rise. "See?" she said, watching the small lantern drift into the dark. "He keeps his promises." And for a long while, neither of them spoke, because the night was saying everything. That some boys are taken by war, that some girls grow old waiting, and that love, stubborn, ordinary, miraculous love, has a way of finding its way home. A Mother's Goodbye. They found the letter folded inside a Bible, pressed between fragile pages like a prayer that never left her lips. It was a mother's final words to a son she could not hold again. The letter was dated March 3rd, 1968. The paper was pale blue, edges curled from decades of waiting. In careful, rounded handwriting, a mother had written to her boy, David, who had left for the Vietnam War. She had placed the letter in the family Bible, perhaps too afraid it might never reach him, or perhaps knowing in her heart that the words belonged to God as much as to her son. Lily, still holding the soldier's letters from the first episode, now read this new one aloud to her grandmother Anna. The attic was quiet, the air thick with dust and the scent of cedar, as if the house itself held its breath. "My darling David, I packed your uniform in the trunk, pressed and clean, but I could not press away my fear. Last night I sat in your room after you left and listened to the silence. It was louder than anything I've ever heard. I want to tell you what mothers never say enough, that you were my first sunrise, my first miracle. When you were small and you ran into my arms with scraped knees, I thought my heart would burst with the weight of love. And when you walked away with that duffel bag on your back, I felt the same. Only this time, the wound was mine. If you cannot write back, it's all right. I will write enough love for both of us. And if God decides He wants you sooner than I can bear, know this: you were never alone. Not once, not ever. I will be with you in every prayer, in every breath, in every beat of my breaking heart. Come home to me, son. Always, Mama." Anna folded her hands in her lap as Lily finished. For a moment, neither spoke. The words hung between them, trembling like a candle flame. David never came home. His name was etched into the black granite wall of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, one of 58,000 carved into silence. His mother had lived long enough to trace his name on that stone, long enough to leave flowers at its base, but not long enough to see her letter read aloud. She passed in the 1980s, her Bible sealed, the letter tucked inside. Only now did it breathe in the air again. The story shifted back in time. 1968, a farmhouse kitchen, a woman alone at the table, ink staining her fingers. She writes the words with tears falling, the lamp flickering above. Outside, the wind rattles the windows, but inside, the storm is deeper, a storm only mothers of soldiers know. She folds the letter, kisses the paper, and presses it into the Bible. She cannot send it. She cannot risk goodbye being final. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, David crouches in the jungle, holding his rifle, whispering the same prayer. His face is young, sunburnt, streaked with sweat. He does not know his mother is writing to him that very moment. He does not know that her words will never reach him, except in the way love somehow travels without letters. Days later, he falls, and the earth takes him before his mother's arms can. Back in the present, Lily closes the letter and wipes her eyes. She must have written it because she knew, she whispers. Anna nods. Mothers always know. The attic feels sacred now, as if walls can listen. Outside, the winter wind presses against the house, but inside, the two women sit surrounded by ghosts who are not frightening. Ghosts made of love. Anna lays her hand over the letter. War takes sons, she says, her voice trembling. But it never takes the love of a mother. That love outlives everything. Later that night, Lily places the letter back in the Bible and sets it on the windowsill, moonlight falling across its cover. She looks at her grandmother, who is staring at the stars, lips moving in a silent prayer. Do you think he ever felt it? Lily asks. Anna nods, eyes shining. Oh yes, a son always feels his mother's love, even when the world tries to bury it. And for a moment, the night itself seems to pause, as if listening. The stars glimmer more brightly, like signatures in the sky, confirming that love, written unsent or unfinished, always finds its way home. The love that was never sent. They found the letter folded inside a silk handkerchief, hidden for 70 years. It was never mailed, never spoken aloud, a love that lived only on paper. The letter was dated June 12, 1951. The handwriting was careful but nervous, as if each word carried more weight than the young man could bear. It was signed simply, Daniel. Anna's hands trembled as she handed it to Lily. This letter was never meant for the world, she whispered. But sometimes, love buried in silence is still love worth remembering. Lily unfolded the faded paper. The ink had bled at the edges, but the words still pulsed with urgency, as if they had waited decades for breath. My dearest Eleanor, I should tell you these words in person, but every time I see you, my courage leaves me. I am writing this because if I never find the strength, at least the truth will exist somewhere, even if only on this page. I have loved you since the summer you laughed in the rain and said you were not afraid of storms. I have loved you in silence at church pews, across crowded streets, in the quiet moments when you looked away and I dared to look too long. You will marry someone better, I know, but I cannot let the years erase me without you ever knowing. You were my storm, my song, my only. Forever yours, though you will never know it, Daniel. Lily pressed her lips together, fighting back tears. He never gave it to her? Anna shook her head slowly. Number Eleanor married another man. Daniel kept the letter hidden in his drawer until the day he died. His niece found it among his belongings. She sent it to me because she knew I collected stories like these. The attic seemed heavier now, as if filled with all the breaths Daniel had held back across a lifetime. Lily imagined him as a young man, standing outside Eleanor's house with the letter in his pocket, heart pounding, never knocking on the door. She imagined him at her wedding, clapping politely, smiling through the quiet fracture of his chest. But life went on. Eleanor had children, grandchildren. Daniel became Uncle Dan, kind, quiet, always present at family gatherings, never married. No one suspected he carried a love story pressed between paper and silence. The narrative cut to Daniel's room years later. A small desk, the letter folded neatly under a silk handkerchief. His hand rests on it one last time before he closes the drawer. His eyes are tired but gentle, as if he has made peace with his silence. Back in the present, Anna whispered, "Some loves are not meant to be lived in the world. Some are meant to live only in the heart." Daniel gave Eleanor her freedom, but he kept his truth here. She tapped the letter gently. Lily's eyes filled. Do you think she ever knew? Anna looked out the window, where dusk stretched across the sky in bruised shades of purple and gold. Sometimes the soul recognizes what the lips cannot say. I believe, in some quiet way, she knew. They sat together in the fading light, the letter between them. Outside, rain began to fall softly, as if echoing Daniel's memory. The sound was not sorrowful, it was tender, like the world itself remembering a man who loved deeply and silently, until his last breath. When Lily placed the letter back into its handkerchief, she felt it throb with an invisible pulse. She understood. Now, words left unread still carry power. Love unspoken still leaves its mark. And somewhere, in the rhythm of the rain, it felt as if Daniel's voice finally exhaled. You were my only. A grandmother's last gift. They found the letter tucked inside a jewelry box, wrapped in lace and lavender. It was not about possessions, but about the kind of inheritance no will can list, the wisdom of a heart that had loved for nearly a century. The letter was dated May 9th, 1999. Written in elegant script, it carried the calm voice of someone who knew the end was near, but wanted her family to feel her presence long after she was gone. It was signed, Grandma Ruth. Anna handed the envelope to Lily carefully, as if it were glass. This one, she said softly, is not about goodbye. It's about what stays behind. Lily unfolded the pages and began to read. My precious grandchildren, if you are holding this letter, it means my chair by the window is empty now. But don't let that make you sad. I am still there every morning when the light pours in, every evening when the crickets sing. I am in the recipes I taught your mother, in the lullabies I once hummed, in the quilts that will keep you warm. I do not leave you gold or land. What I leave is simpler, but I pray it is richer. I leave you the memory of Sunday mornings when we laughed over pancakes. I leave you the courage to tell the truth, even when it trembles in your mouth. I leave you the habit of kindness, which has more power than any inheritance you will ever hold in your hands. One day, you too will grow old. When you do, remember this: beauty is not youth. It is love, carried long enough to outlast time itself. Don't weep for me. Live. Live with the kind of joy that makes life worth all its seasons. That will be my eternity. With all the love my heart can hold. Grandma Ruth. Lily's voice cracked as she reached the last line. She blinked hard, but the tears came anyway. She didn't leave them things, she whispered. She left them herself. Anna nodded. The best inheritance is not what we own. It's what we've been. The attic seemed warmer now, as if Ruth's presence had slipped quietly into the room. Lily could almost hear the echo of a rocking chair creaking, the smell of lavender lingering faintly in the air. The story cut back in time. Ruth, a frail woman in her late 80s, sitting at her desk with a fountain pen. Her hands shook, but her words were steady. She paused often, looking out the window at the children playing in the yard, smiling through tears as she wrote. She folded the pages, wrapped them in lace, placed them gently inside her jewelry box, and whispered, "They'll know me this way." Years later, after her funeral, the grandchildren opened the box. Their hands trembled as they read, and for a moment, Ruth was alive again. In their tears, in their laughter, in the sudden realization that love does not vanish, it transforms. Back in the present, Lily held the letter close. "I wish every family had a letter like this," she said. Anna smiled, eyes glistening. they can. All it takes is someone brave enough to put love into words before time runs out. That night, Lily sat at her desk with a blank page before her. Inspired, she began to write, not for herself, but for the generations who would come after. She finally understood Ruth's gift, that the truest legacy is not what we leave behind in boxes, but what we place in hearts. And somewhere beyond the veil of years, Ruth's words still whispered through the quiet night. Love is the only inheritance that never fades.